Hello everybody, this is Laura Susan Johnson with Period Pieces, and I'm doing another early 20th century period piece. This period piece is called, this motion picture is Meet Me in St. Louis. It's from Vincent Minelli, 1944. And it stars Judy Garland, one of my favorites. This is a post-Wizard of Oz movie for her. It's one of her best since The Wizard of Oz. And it also stars an amazing child actress, Margaret O'Brien, who the first thing I heard her in, the first material that captured my attention for Margaret O'Brien was a radio play, The Screaming Woman. It was on either one of the radio, it was either like something like the Lux Radio Theater, or it might have been Suspense, the radio show called Suspense, and I have a feeling it was the latter, Suspense, because it really was a frightening show. Margaret O'Brien did an excellent job capturing a really terrified little girl trying to get her parents to believe that there was a woman who had been buried alive in a lot near her family's home. By some deranged neighbor. But anyway, you'll have to excuse the fireworks. It's only the 1st of July, and my brother and his friends are shooting fireworks off 3 frickin' days early. Isn't that delightful? I guess it lends itself to the celebratory spirit, for God's sake, of this film that I'm trying to review here, if they'll let me. So Judy Garland, Margaret O'Brien, Leon AMES, Lucille Brenner. Mary Astor, Tom Drake, Marjorie Main, Harry Davenport, and June Lockhart, and Lon Smith Jr. are all in this very fun little movie called Meet Me in St. Louis. It's a musical. I want to just get that out of the way and let you know that yes, it is a musical, kind of like The Wizard of Oz. Perhaps not nearly as epic as Wizard of Oz, but you know, very, very nice, very beautiful in living color. Very fun, a very fun movie. Nothing, no villains or anything, just a story about a family that is living in St. Louis, Missouri, and looking forward to the 1904 World's Fair that is coming to town. Roughly, oh boy, here we go again. Roughly, roughly a year before I'll just let them get their little, let them shoot their load. A year before the World's Fair comes to town, the story takes place in kind of a hot day in the summertime. The mother, Mary Astor, and the household maid, cook, housekeeper, played by Marjorie Main, who is a very good actress from those days. She also played in the, what was it called? It wasn't the Beverly Hillbillies, but it was a well-known movie series that spawned off of The Egg and I. The movie The Egg and I with Fred MacMurray and Claudette Colbert. And it spawned a series of movies about a kind of a, not a hillbilly family so much, but just a family of country people. I can't remember. Ma and Pa Kettle, that's it. Anyway, Marjorie Main of Ma and Pa Kettle fame stars as the maid, and I really like Marjorie Main. She also appeared in the Long Long Trailer, which was Lucille Ball, and Desi Arnaz was in that. Anyway, they're making ketchup, homemade ketchup. That's what they did in those days, and this takes place in summer of 1903. The family, even though it's not even until about another year, they're all looking forward to the World's Fair coming to town. And it's hot. It doesn't appear to be super muggy because it is golden age of Hollywood. Nobody's going to have sweat dripping down. They're still going to be in Hollywood makeup. Judy Garland's hair is beautiful and perfect. It's sort of an auburn, light auburn hair. Her sister looks beautiful. She has two younger sisters who are kind of tomboyish. One of them has been swimming out somewhere and she comes home kind of waterlogged. And the other sister's out delivering ice with the Iceman. Now, this younger sister, Tootie, is my favorite character in the movie. And this is kind of what Judy Garland was afraid of. Judy Garland didn't want to be cast opposite Margaret O'Brien, because Margaret O'Brien was already had a reputation of being one of the best child actors in Hollywood. And she already had some major acting chops. She plays one of the kookiest little girls you'll ever see in a movie. I mean, this kid is weird. This kid is really weird, but she is so funny and so fun and so unlike most, like the fucking Shirley Temple stereotype that you saw in a lot of the movies. In most of those movies from that time period. Margaret O'Brien is just so hilarious. She talks to the ice delivery guy who's, you know, he's driving a horse-drawn ice wagon, and she talks to him about how her doll is dying of 4 different terminal illnesses, and she has buried most of her other dolls in the backyard because they've all died of some illness. I mean, she's just the weirdest little kid. And she, at the dinner table later that night, she just is weird. She talks about, like, somebody, you know, impaled themselves on something and there was blood everywhere. I mean, it's like she's the one element in this otherwise very Hollywoodized, everybody's dressed in pretty costumes, all the girls are singing pretty songs and have their hair all pretty and in bows, and all the men are courting the girls. And I think Margaret O'Brien is the reason why I like this movie so much, because she is like the odd man out. She just makes this movie so relatable for a Hollywood musical. After summer's over, it's fall, it's Halloween time, and Margaret O'Brien and her older tomboy sister, I don't remember the kid's name, but she's just slightly older than Margaret O'Brien, and she you know, they go out with their kids, their own age, and the boys dress in drag, and, you know, they dress as women, they wear wigs, they put big fake boobs on, and they go out trick-or-treating, but actually they don't do that so much as they play pranks on neighbors. Especially this one neighbor, they hate him, and they want to play a prank on him by throwing flour in his face and saying, "I hate you," and they're all so afraid of him that they try to dare the bravest among them to go do it. Like, the one who goes and does it is the bravest, and, you know, and Margaret keeps begging them, Margaret O'Brien, Tootie, keeps begging them, let me go do it, let me. And they're like, "Oh, you won't do it, you're too little, get out of here, you know, you're a loser." And she keeps insisting, "I'll go do it." And they finally say, "Okay, just prove it to us." And she just goes right up to that door, knocks on the door, and he answers it, and he's got this big bulldog. And she just says right to his face, "I hate you." And she slings flour in his face, and it's just so funny. And then later on in the night, something happens. She ends up with a busted lip. She lies about it. She says that this guy that Judy Garland's characters had this mad crush on for the last 6 months or so, 3 or 4 months, whatever it's been. She says that he hit her in the face and gave her a busted lip. And her lip's so busted that it... Fuck, that's loud. Needs stitches. Her lip actually is so injured that it needs stitches. And I forget exactly how. I think she fell on the train track and cut her lip or something, trying to get away from a trolley or something. It's weird. I might be getting her mixed up with some other movie I saw, but she's just such a little liar and such a brat. And so anyway, she's like, the doctor comes to the house, stitches up her lip, and Judy Garland goes over next door and has a big fight with the kid that she has a crush on. And he tries to explain, no, I didn't hit your sister, I didn't hit her. And she doesn't listen to him, and she almost hits him. And then the kid, you know, Margaret O'Brien, you know, confesses, "No, I lied. I didn't, your friend didn't hit me. I lied." I mean, it's just so unapologetic. She's just a brat. And, I don't know, it's just little things like that. She's creepy. Margaret O'Brien plays this really creepy little kid that does these weird things. She talks about weird things. She's just not your typical little girly, you know, girly little girl. She's like a tomboy, and she's just very different, and I just really like that that's kind of why I like the movie. The rest of the movie is kind of like just typical musical Hollywood stuff. So I really hope you'll forgive all the noises that are in this review. Anyway, in the winter, after all the Halloween stuff is over, the father, Leon Ames, announces that his job will be moving him to New York. And of course the family is heartbroken because they love St. Louis, Missouri. They don't want to leave. And what about the fair that's coming next year in the spring? And the father's upset because, oh, well, my job, you know, I mean, I'm going to be providing us with more money. We'll be having, you know, better money. I'll be having a promotion. We'll have a nicer house. We'll have better schools. Why can't you be appreciative and all that stuff? And he's all, you know, he's befuddled over the whole thing. And the family's just so heartbroken. They don't want to listen to him asking them those kinds of questions. And you know, in the meantime, Judy Garland's character's upset with her new boyfriend. You know, she finally nabbed the guy, and they're supposed to have this Christmas dance, but he was out playing basketball, so he didn't have time to pick up his nice suit for the dance, and she's all upset. She has this beautiful red dress, and Grandpa was able to be her date for the dance, and all that stuff. It's kind of like, you know, Judy Garland's really great in it, and I love Judy Garland. It's one of the great movies of her career, I think. But, you know, if I had to give you my real reason why I like the movie, it's Margaret O'Brien, just because of the character of Tootie. Otherwise, if it wasn't for Tootie, I think that it would just be a generic musical. I'm not a big musical fan. I just don't like movies with tons of singing in them. I mean, the songs are really cute and everything, but even if songs are really memorable, the only time I really like songs, you know, when they apply to, you know, if you're just like supposed to be watching a story and they just break out into song, it just seems kind of irritating. I don't know. But if you're watching a movie and something plays in the background while you're watching a scene happening in a story, that's another thing. But if the cast sings, it just seems weird to me. That's just how I've always felt about musicals. I mean, I even like Mary Poppins, but, I mean, as much as I love Ewan McGregor, I've never been fond of Moulin Rouge, see? So, and I plan to review all of these different musicals. It's just that musicals are not my thing. So, during Christmas, they all go out and build snowmen. And when the father announces that they are probably going to be moving to New York, Tootie goes out in the front yard, barefooted, out in the cold, and just tears all the snowman up and starts to bawl and cry. And Judy Garland has to calm her down and ends up singing "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas" to her to calm her down and make her feel better. And that was one moment in the movie where singing a song, you know, Christmas song especially, was called for, and I thought it was a nice moment in the film. According to many people, Judy Garland didn't like the song and didn't want to sing this song. She didn't like the song at all, but it turns out that it's one of the best Christmas songs. I think it was, I don't know if it was made especially for this movie, and that's why it's such a popular song today, but it definitely is one of the best moments in the film. And not too long after that moment happened, the father ends up changing his mind and saying, "I won't take the job offer in New York. I won't move us away. If you guys love this place so much, I love it too, and we'll stay here." And then the movie kind of transitions into spring 2004. Oh, I'm sorry. Spring 1904. And the family is dressed in spring whites, which is something I've always found very beautiful about that Victorian, kind of like 19th century American Victorian era. 20th century Victorian era. You saw some of that in Mary Poppins when they jumped into the painting, and they all jumped into Bert's chalk drawing. Excuse me, not a painting, but a chalk drawing. sidewalk drawing, and Mary Poppins was dressed in this sort of a white dress with kind of peach highlights or peach accents on it, and the little girl was dressed in sort of a outfit that was similar. The women were all dressed in, you know, really beautiful whites with maybe pastel kind of stuff. That's how women dressed in those days. So the costumes were beautiful, and the sets and all the stuff, you know, just everything was great. It was really a great masterpiece of costumes and production design. You know, I don't know about the music so much. I don't know what music in those days really sounded like. I'm sure it was much more, you know, crude, and phonographs were probably barely beginning to be invented or running at that time. So it was probably much more lavish musically than realistically than what would be realistic. But still, it's an enjoyable movie. I would give probably a good solid 9 or 10 out of 10. So this would be a first-time review for Meet Me in St. Louis. I've never reviewed it before. I've been watching it since probably 2008. I think I first saw it in 2008. I just wasn't really familiar with it until then. Until then, I hadn't seen but maybe 1 or 2 of Judy Garland's movies. You know, of course, The Wizard of Oz is something most of us have seen, but as far as a lot of her other work, it's out there, and it's really good, most of it. But Meet Me in St. Louis is my second favorite movie of hers, and honestly, though, like I said, the main reason I love it is because of Margaret O'Brien, because she's such a kooky, strange little girl.